Once again, all praises to the Most High, brothers and sisters. I'm your host, the Apostle Reuben of IUPR Bible Radio, podcasting out of Little Rock, Arkansas. To the true saints of the Most High God. Real quick, brothers and sisters, we're going to be looking into the adoption. Now, I'm going to read definition 1 and 2, but we're going to be around definition 2 because it's something I want you to see. But I'm just reading definition 1 just to go into 2. So let's begin. Adoption. A legal action by which a person takes into his family, a child not his own, and usually of no kin to him, with the purpose of treating him as and giving him all the privileges of an own son. So Moses was adopted by Pharaoh's daughter, Exodus 2 and 10, and Esther by Mordecai, Esther 2 and 7. The custom was not common among the Jews. So the Jews didn't just go around adopting like the other nations did. They didn't know that now. But was so among the Romans. Roman custom. With whom, as with us, an adopted child is legally entitled to all the rights and privileges of a natural born child. See there? That's adoption. But let's go to definition 2. Definition 2, the custom of being well known, where Rome held sway, is used in the New Testament to refer to the choice by Jehovah of Israel to be his special people, Romans 9 and 4, or B, the special sense of which all true Christians are the sons of God. All true Christians are the sons of God. Now they're basing that off Galatians 4 and 4, Ephesians 1 and 5, or 4 and 5. We're going to read them both. So we're going to hover around definition 2. So we're going to start over and then we're going to go to Romans 9. It says the custom, definition 2 now. The custom being well known where Rome held sway, as used in the New Testament to refer, to be the choice by Jehovah of Israel to be his special people. Jehovah of Israel to be his special people, Romans 9 and 4. B, the special sense in which all true Christians are the sons of God. So this is what they think. This is some of what the Christians, now because definition 2 is where the Christians want to make their point because they have chapter and verse with it. Like I said, when it says B, the special sense in which all true Christians are the sons of God, they base it off Galatians 4 and 5 and Ephesians 1, 4 and 5. And we're going to be taking a look at both of them in this short podcast episode. We're just going to do it. So let's go back to the Bible. Now, we're going to come back to the definition of adoption, but let's look at this. Romans 9 and 1. I say the truth in Christ, I lie not, my conscience also bearing me witness in the Holy Ghost, that I have great heaviness and continual sorrow in my heart. So Paul had heaviness and sorrow in his mind. For I could wish that myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh, who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption. Now I want to stop right there. To whom pertaineth the adoption. So the adoption pertains to Israel alone, according to this verse. It didn't say who are Christians here. It did not say who are Christians to whom pertaineth the adoption. It says who are Israelites. That's 12 tribes, brothers and sisters. Alone. Who are Israelites to whom pertaineth the adoption. So the adoption pertaineth to Israelites, not Christians. But as you can see in this, we're back at the bottom definition. The custom being well known where Rome held sway is used in the New Testament to refer to the choice by Jehovah of Israel to be his special people. Romans 9:4. Now, is it everybody to be his special people or Israel? It was Israel. According to Romans 9:4, the adoption pertaineth to Israel alone. That's where it's at. But notice it says be, meaning something else. This is something else. The special sense in which all true Christians are the sons of God. You can see that, right? It's special sense. All true Christians. But yet, in Romans 9:4, who are Israelites, it didn't say Christians. It says Israelites. So what's going on? Head scratcher. Now, I want to go to Galatians because they base it off Galatians. They base it off Galatians 4. So let's go read Galatians 4. Galatians 4:1. Now I say that the heir, as long as he is a child, differeth nothing from a servant, though he be Lord of all, but is under tutors and governors until the time appointed of the Father. Even so we, when we were children, were in bondage under the elements of the world. Now he's talking about the temple here and the offerings. Watch. But when the fullness of time was come, God sent forth his Son, made of a woman, made under the law. Made under the law. To redeem them that were under the law. Now, I want you guys to pay close attention. Under the law. Under the law. Hebrews 7:11. Christians are not going to admit it, but we know Hebrews 7, verse 11. If therefore perfection were by the Levitical priesthood. The priesthood. If therefore perfection were by the Levitical priesthood, for under it. I want you to notice, we're not going to, under it. We're reading, brothers and sisters, when it says for under it, what was the it? The Levitical priesthood. The law, we were never, ever, ever under the Ten Commandments. That's not what being under the law means. The Christians are liars. The Christians are flat-faced liars. Under the law does not mean under the Ten Commandments and the rest of the civil law. No. What we're reading, Paul or the writer of Hebrews says, if therefore perfection were by the Levitical priesthood, for under it. It didn't say we were under any other law except the priesthood. That's it. Priesthood alone. Priesthood alone. The law we were under was named, and it was the priesthood, for under it. To be under the law was under the priesthood. To be under the law was under the priesthood. That's what you're looking at. Now, I want to go here again. Now we're looking at the bottom definition because we're going to read it. Testament, more accurately rendered covenant. So let me just read it. A binding agreement or contract between man and man, or man and God. The earliest account of the institution of the Lord's Supper contains the words, this cup. But that's not what we want. Testament means covenant. So we'll go back to Hebrews. Hebrews 9. Verse 1. I want you to pay attention to the wording. It says, then verily the first, that's what you're looking for. The F-I-R-S-T, covenant. The first covenant. The first covenant. Now let's look at this again. Covenant, the first covenant. Testament. Look at more accurately rendered covenant. So again, what we want you to see is covenant and testament mean the same thing. Covenant and testament mean the same thing. It's not different. It's the same. Testament more accurately rendered covenant. So they were the same. So we want to go back to Hebrews 9. For verily the first covenant, which was testament, had also ordinances of divine service in a worldly sanctuary. You know what this is, brothers and sisters. The first testament was about the temple, the sacrifice. So when we drop down to verse 15, it says, for this cause he is the mediator of the New Testament, new covenant, that by means of death for the redemption of the transgressions that were under the first covenant, which is under the law. What was the first testament, the first covenant? Pay attention. What was the first testament, the first covenant? Then verily the first covenant or testament had also had also ordinances of divine service in the worldly sanctuary. We can see, for there was a tabernacle made, the first, wherein was the candlestick and the table and the showbread, which is called the sanctuary. Now look at this. It says, for verily the first, look at the first, F-I-R-S-T, testament, had also ordinances of divine service and worldly sanctuary. There's no feast in this. There's no 10 commandments in this. It's telling you the first covenant was the temple and the sacrificial offering. First covenant. So when we drop back down, it doesn't change. Verse 15. For this cause he is the mediator of the New Testament, that by means of death for the redemption of the transgressions that were under the first covenant. The first covenant was the temple sacrifice. That was the first covenant. You can't take it, you can't change it. That were under the first testament or the first covenant, which was animal sacrifice. That's what the first testament was. It was what the book says it was. And it was animal sacrifice. So when you look at the term under the first testament, that is another way of saying under the law. To be under the law was under the priesthood. That's what it meant to be under the law. It had nothing to do with the feast. It had nothing to do with fringes. It had nothing to do with the 10 commandments. It had nothing to do with anything or nothing else except, well, I should get my words straight. The only thing that I could tell you by chapter and verse, or show you by chapter and verse, is under, as you can see the word under again, the first testament, which is under the law. That's the same thing as saying under the law. The Christians will not define what it means to be under the law by chapter and verse. Under the law is under the priesthood. So once again, when we go back, I'm going to show you how important that is. Galatians 4, verse 4. But when the fullness of time was come, God sent forth his son, made of a woman, made under the law, to redeem. Now I want you to take a look. It says to redeem them that were under the law. We just saw that. We're going to come back to Galatians 4 and 5. But before we go deeper into Galatians 4 and 5, we're going to read the verses together. We're going to read Galatians 4 and 5 and Hebrews 9:15. So pay attention. To redeem them that were under the law. See, to redeem them that were under the law. Let's go back. Under it. Hebrews. Now reading this, I'm gonna read the rest. But I want you to see this first. Hebrews 9. And remember, to redeem them that were under the law. Under the law. Them. For this cause he is the mediator of the New Testament, that by means of death, for the redemption. The redemption is to redeem. See, for the redemption of the transgressions that were under the first testament, Christ came to redeem the transgressions of those that were under the priesthood. He came to redeem those that were under the priesthood. The first covenant. And all nations did not take part in the first covenant sacrifice for atonement. They did not. There's no pork chop eating pastor that can prove it. Now, again, for this cause he is the mediator of the New Testament, that by means of death, for the redemption of the transgressions. The redemption of whose transgressions that were under the first testament, which is under the law of sacrifice. Who? Because the only ones that can be proven that were under the first testament law of animal sacrifice is Israel. That's why it says in Psalms 50 and 5. We already know we're not going to play with them. Psalms 50 and 5. Psalms 50 and 5. It says, let me go up one. It says, gather my saints together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice. The only ones that made a covenant with God by sacrifice was the saints, which are the children of Israel. That's Psalms 148:14. We've seen that enough. The only ones that made a covenant with God by sacrifice is Israel. The true Israelites, by the way. So, going back to Galatians. Galatians 4. Galatians 4. Verse 4 and 5 again. But when the fullness of time was come, God sent forth his Son, made of a woman made under the law, to redeem them that were under the law, that we that were under the law might receive the adoption of sons. We that were under the law might receive the adoption. So all we could look now and see, brothers and sisters, is who was under the law. Another verse, we're just going right back to it. We're just going to it. 1 Corinthians 9 and 20. And unto the Jews I became as a Jew, that I might gain the Jews. To them that are under the law as under the law, that I might gain them that are under the law. So here's the verse, brothers and sisters, that show you who's under the law, and it's not the nations. All nations were never under the law. All nations were never under the priesthood. Again, that's why the Christians don't want to define what it means to be under the law, because they know all nations weren't under the law. They weren't. If all nations were not under the law, they cannot be redeemed by Christ. And we know they can't prove it. And unto the Jews I became as a Jew, that I might gain the Jews. To them that are under the law, as under the law, that I might gain them. The them are the Jews and a few of the northern kingdom, because they were around as well. Basically, brothers and sisters, all Israel was under the law. All Israel was under the Levitical priesthood. But Paul's making a point here, because in the New Testament, it was predominantly Jews that were being taught. They were the uncircumcision. But that's another subject. And unto the Jew I became as a Jew. Unto the Jews I became as a Jew, that I might gain the Jews. To them, the them is the Jews, not the nations. Crystal clear. These people act like they can't read the Bible. And unto the Jews I became as a Jew that I might gain the Jews. To them that are under the law. Them that are under the law were the Jews, and they were the only ones Paul wrote was under the law. There's not another verse in this Bible that's going to show you that. I'll say it like this. There's not another verse in the New Testament that is going to prove to you that all nations were under the law. It's not there. This is the one. See, the only ones that were under the law was the Jews. So when we go back to Romans, see, this is what I like about Romans. Romans 3, just this one verse, and then we're going to move on. Romans 3, verse 19. For we know that what things soever the law saith, it saith to them who are under the law. Whatever the law saith, it saith to them who are under it, that every mouth may be stopped, and all the world may become guilty before God. Whatever the law saith is only talking to them who are under it. It's not talking to anyone else. You dusty other nations, when it comes to the law, you wasn't even a part of it. The other nations were not a part of it. So, going back to Galatians, I'm going to show you. See, brothers and sisters, this is something that. But when the fullness of time was come, God sent forth his Son, made of a woman, made under the law, to redeem them that were under the law. That we are those that were under the law. And Paul himself was under the law also, because he was a Jew, might receive the adoption of sons. It didn't say that Christians would receive the adoption. This is what we're saying, brothers and sisters. It doesn't say, when we look at option B, the special sense in which all true Christians are sons of God. That's a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie. When we go back up to the Bible, to redeem them that were under the law. The only ones that were under the law was Israel. But Paul is writing to predominantly Jews at this time. So Christ is not redeeming Christians. He's redeeming them that were under the law. The only ones that were under the law was Israel. Chapter and verse, they won't have one. That we are those that were under the law might receive the adoption of sons. So the only ones that were under the law was Israel, Jews. 1 Corinthians 9 and 20. They were the only ones under the law. As written, as proven, you will not find a verse that is going to show you all nations were under the law. No. Meaning Christ did not come to redeem all nations. That's simple. He came to redeem them that were under the law. That's it. That we might receive the adoptions of sons. That we might receive the adoption of sons. Excuse me. The adoption goes to them that were under the law, which is Israel again. 2 for 2. The only ones that were under the law was first. Again, we promise you, brothers and sisters, these Christians. 1 Corinthians 9. Verse 20. And unto the Jews I became as a Jew that I might gain the Jews. To them that are under the law as under the law, that I might gain them that are under the law. There it is. There's your verse. Nations were not under the law. Israel's under the law alone. So what I want to do now is I want to go to Ephesians. Ephesians 1. Now, of course, right now, brothers and sisters, a tornado siren is going off, a tornado warning siren, but Lord be with us. I want to try to finish this podcast up. It's nothing but a few minutes left. So I want to go to Ephesians 1 and 4. It says, according as he hath chosen us in him before the foundation of the world, that we should be holy and without blame before him in love, having predestinated us unto the adoption of children by the Messiah Christ to himself according to the good pleasure of his will. Now I want you to understand, it says having predestinated us. Who are the predestined? Let's get the book of Romans 11. Romans 11, verse 1. It says, I say then, hath God cast away his people? God forbid. For I also am an Israelite, of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. God hath not cast away his people, he foreknew. Woe ye not what the scripture saith of Elias, how that he maketh intercession to God against Israel, saying, now we're not going to go into that. What I wanted you to see is verse 2. God hath not cast away his people, which he foreknew. Who did God foreknow? Israel. God foreknew Israel. So when we go to Romans 8, I want you guys to see this. God only foreknew Israel. That's it. That's based off Amos 3 and 2. But I want to go to verse 29. Romans 8:29. For whom he did foreknow, he also did predestinate to be comforted to the image of his son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren. So whom he did foreknow, which was who? Israel. He also did predestinate. Israel is the predestined. It didn't say for whom he did something else. It says for whom he did foreknow, which was Israel, Romans 11 and 2. He also did predestinate. So the predestined are whom he foreknew, which is Israel. And they're the only predestined. That's why when we go back to Ephesians 1 and 4. Ephesians 1 and 4. The only predestined is Israelites. That's why it says, according as he had chosen us in him before the foundation of the world. What is he talking about? Because we keep telling you, Paul, an apostle of the Messiah Christ by the will of God, to the saints are the children of Israel. Psalms 148:14, Psalms 50 and 5, Deuteronomy 33, 1 and 2. They're the children of Israel. He's writing to the children of Israel in Ephesus. That's why he says in verse 5, having predestinated us. Who did he predestine? Whom he foreknew, and that was Israel. Having predestinated us unto the adoption of children by the Messiah Christ to himself, according to the good pleasure of his will. So the adoption is to the predestined. Who are the predestined? Whom he foreknew. Once again, Israel. So, brothers and sisters, the adoption is only for Israel. It's just you got to get past the wording. Paul writes in mystery. You got to know it. The adoption is to the predestined, which whom he foreknew, which was Israel. So the only ones that are going to get adopted is Israelites, according to chapter and verse. You just have to know how to look through the things the Christians try to hide. So, brothers and sisters, we know that the adoption is the children of Israel and none else. All praise to the Most High. I got to see if I have to take cover, brothers and sisters. It's like that. I'm your host, the Apostle Reuben. May you stay safe as I am, and all praises.